Where do you even start with one like this? I should go outside. BEAU is Afraid is the latest film directed and written by Ari Aster. I have been a fan of Aster's since Hereditary, and I quite liked Midsommar as well. Even though both films are considered to be within the horror genre, I think it is the focus on character that really makes someone like Aster stand out. Hereditary is a film about grief, alienation from your family, and the fear of motherhood. Midsommar is a film about grief, about a rapidly decaying relationship, and the lies we tell each other, as well as our own self-deception. In keeping with these themes, BEAU is Afraid follows titular character Beau as he deals with the loss of a loved one and deals with the consequences of how he has lived his life up until that point. It is a film that examines fear, codependency, and the regret that stems from those elements. However, it presents these elements in a very unique way. We never see a perspective other than Beau's. It is up to the audience to decide how much of the film is literally happening and how much of the film is taking place in the fearscape that is Beau's mind. One of the nice things about a film like this is that you can describe the events of the film without actually taking away from the experience. The messaging and the emotionality of a film like this is very contingent on the experience of the audience. Describing the plot or events of the film doesn't really go too far in actually conveying what the film experience is like. What really matters is Beau's perspective and his interpretation of those events, and thus the audience's interpretation of those events. Hello? Hello? We rarely, if ever, see the world dispassionately. It's possible that only the first scene takes place in this objective reality, and, even then, it might not. However, the objective reality of the scene is secondary to the feelings we experience moment to moment. The street you live on is home to many others, each with their own lives, stories, ambitions. It is, objectively, a space occupied by people other than you. However, you don't live your life as this omniscient being able to see all points of view. You live your life, subjectively, through the lens of reality as you see it. In a very Kaufman sort of way in the vein of Synecdoche, New York, BEAU is Afraid hones in on someone's subjective view of reality. For BEAU, reality is much more horrifying than the average person perceives it. His life is dominated by irrational fears or anxiety, perceiving the worst possible outcomes in any given situation. He hears about a violent offender on the news, and BEAU encounters him almost immediately. A deadly spider is known to be in the apartment complex. Guess what? It's in BEAU's apartment. BEAU needs to take his new medication with water at all times. Well, the water in his apartment gets shut off. He needs to cross the street to buy bottled water, but he lost his keys, so he must leave his apartment door open, and every drifter, deviant, and murderer flocks into his apartment, annihilating the place. Every situation resolves in the worst possible way. Psychologists would call this catastrophizing. The reasons we are the way we are can rarely be attributed to just one thing. It is often reductionist to ascribe a complex system of behaviors to a singular event in childhood or one decision made decades ago. However, there are certain events, decisions, or even people that are more responsible than others. The people who raised you likely have more influence in how you currently live your life than what you had for breakfast 10 years ago. While a person's life is always going to be more complex than a 3-hour film can convey, it is easy to see what, or rather who, had the biggest influence on BEAU. BEAU's mother, Mona, raised BEAU on her own. Being a single mother, there were difficulties, and Mona's relationship with her son stretched beyond that kind of relationship. BEAU was also her confidant, her employee, and her product line. BEAU, being Mona's son, is a role that comes secondary to all of these others. BEAU must balance all of these qualities so as to not upset his mother. He, consequently, does not appear to have availability for anything or anyone else. Mona consistently threatens to withhold her love from BEAU. This is a hallmark of abusive relationships. The abuser isolates their victim to the point where the abuser is both the source of the victim's pain, but also the only source of relief from that pain. However, it is possibly hinted that this dynamic negatively affects Mona, the abuser, as well. Mona is never meaningfully seen interacting with anyone else throughout the film. She is as isolated and paralyzed as her son. BEAU is all she has as an emotional anchor, so the thought of him having any kind of independence is petrifying. The toxic, codependent relationship continues. BEAU must catch a flight to see his mother. He misses the flight. Surely, he will see her next time. Surely, he will see her next time. BEAU envisions several possible futures in his life that he failed to experience as a result of his fears and inaction. One of these possible futures is the story of the farmer and his 3 sons. After a cataclysmic event, a man journeys to the ends of the earth to reconnect with his lost family. He loses his farm, his money, his dignity, and his sanity. After decades and decades of searching, he sees 3 young men who suspiciously look like his sons in an outdoor play. The broken family mends through a tearful reunion. However, even this fantasy is interrupted by BEAU's biggest regret. The consequences of BEAU being physically intimate with someone are a constant source of his anxiety. This is something likely originating from his mother, as BEAU thinks that the act of sexual intercourse will literally kill him. There is a fear of masculinity in all forms, and especially penises themselves throughout the film. Naked men and giant phallic objects constantly threaten BEAU and even physically assault him at numerous times. It is even stated, if somewhat comically, that his entire genital region is engorged resulting from a genetic disease, or perhaps a lack of use. This regret regarding intimacy is also potently characterized through the character of Elaine. First encountered on a cruise, a young BEAU starts something of a flirtatious relationship with a girl his own age. This escalates into what is perhaps BEAU's only intimate act with another person, a single kiss. He elevates this minor event into something that changed his life and holds out hope that she will wait for him. We can see this never happened. BEAU never met Elaine again. BEAU never kissed Elaine, was never intimate with Elaine. BEAU never had 3 sons. BEAU is alone. Can BEAU be helped? Can he get past his anxieties to live a better life? Is Mona's grip on BEAU so tight that he cannot escape? I didn't even talk about the family BEAU meets in the film. How each member of the family represents a different way of dealing with grief, and perhaps the various ways in which BEAU wants to act out his own process. Grace lives in denial, keeping the room of her son intact. Tony acts out through self-harm. Roger represents a sort of toxic positivity and a desire to prolong the inevitable. Jeeves represents the mad anger that comes with the unexpected death of a loved one. I didn't even talk about the man who is possibly BEAU's biological father, who keeps showing up throughout the film, contradicting the story of conception as told by BEAU's mother. I haven't even talked about the final scene. Should I? I haven't even answered what might be the most relevant question. Is BEAU's mother even really dead? Did she die in the way the film describes? Does the fact that she dies right after BEAU makes a decision just illustrate BEAU catastrophizing yet again? Does this even matter? What can be said about a film that presents all of these questions, provides some answers, but ultimately denies the protagonist any kind of positive resolution? What can be said about BEAU is Afraid? I should go outside.